Hello there. You know what would be fun? Possibly going through every single Star Wars game ever released. No matter how good or how bad they might be. This is Isle Wars. Ah yes, I finally completely lost my thermal detonators. Attempt to cover all Star Wars games that have been made over the years. Well, I mean, is there even that many of them out there? Oh. We might be here a while, folks. I should probably order some food. Maybe coffee? Or a shitload of cocaine.
I'm on cocaine, son.
Full disclosure, I have no idea if this dude is gonna die after 1 or 2 videos, you never know. So, seems obvious where I should start this journey. The very beginning, the days of the Atari 2600. A console older than probably anybody that's watching this video, but an amazingly revolutionary system. After all, it popularized games being stored on swappable cartridges. Though not the first console to do that, that would be the Fairchild Channel F. I swear to God, I'm not making these names up. There were a total of 4 separate Star Wars games released on the 2600. The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi Death Star Battle, Jedi Arena, and finally the arcade game. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? The Empire Strikes Back came out in 1982, which was developed and published by Parker Brothers. Oh man, the first ever Star Wars game of all time, based on by far the greatest Star Wars movie of all time. Just think of the endless possibility.
Wow.
Alright, I know it would be easy as hell to make fun of games that came out over 40 years ago for how they look and sound, but when taking into consideration time and technology, this is a damn good game. Depicting the legendary Battle of Hoth, you take control of a snowspeeder to shoot down as many AT-ATs as possible before losing all your lives. Like most games of the era, usually there wasn't any end point to a game, you just try to get as high of a score as possible. Every now and then a flashing weak spot may appear on the walker, and if you hit it, you instantly kill them. Normally it takes only 4 dozen hits to take down a single one. You just fly, shoot, dodge their attacks, and sometimes slide in order to recover HP. It's beyond basic, but it works wonderfully, and it's just a simple good time. There's really nothing more to it. Little fun thing is that if you survive long enough out on the battlefield, your speeder starts to flash, becoming invincible, and the Star Wars theme starts playing in all that juicy 8-bit glory. I will be using my ranking system from my Star Wars tier list video to grade all these, and this one goes in A tier. Most impressive indeed. Next up is Return of the Jedi Death Star Battle. This came out in 1983 and was also developed and released by Parker Brothers. As the name suggests, this time you're in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon trying to blow up the second Death Star. There's 2 levels here. Level 1 is you just flying in space fighting against incoming TIE fighters and interceptors, until this hole opens up in this energy shield. Clearly that's what that is. But it opens, you fly in, and transitions into level 2 where you need to damage the unfinished Death Star enough to get a direct hit into its power core.
Okay, Wedge, take out the power station.
Some like it hot and some soft when the heat is on.
Blowing up the Death Star starts you back at the beginning, except every time the task becomes more and more difficult. This is a pretty good game too, but a couple of things irk me. The Millennium Falcon feels a lot more sluggish when compared to the Snowspeeder in the previous game. And the bigger issue, if you shoot and then shoot again, the first blast disappears. So if you try to do rapid fire, which would be the obvious thing to do in this kind of game, you end up hitting a whole lot of nothing unless the enemy is straight up in your face. It's the same kind of stupid shit like with the laser weapon in Contra. Despite that, this game goes in B tier. Up next is Star Wars Jedi Arena, coming out in the same year as the previous one, as well as being developed and released by the same company. I'm sure this will be another stellar outing by the Brothers Park.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Okay, so this game depicts 2 Jedi Knights and that training remote Luke practiced within episode 4. The way it works is that you face off against player 2 or the computer, and the objective is to destroy the opponent's barrier with the shots from the remote to eventually get a direct hit in. The remote moves on its own, but you control when it shoots at your opponent, and the direction of your shot is determined on where you're pointing your lightsaber, which naturally you use to block your opponent's attacks with, and it's just a mess. Since you can see where the enemy is pointing their lightsaber, you can always know where an attack is coming from, and trying to block while also trying to get shots in, it just doesn't work. It's just tedious. And when it's not tedious, it's just plain boring. Honestly, the most fun I had was seeing the remote getting a little too hopped up on spice and going apeshit for a little while. This stinks. Piusa. Also, am I the only one who thinks this looks incredibly phallic? It's not just me, right? Please tell me the perviness brain rot has not gotten that bad.
And I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
Last game for today is yet again from 1983, Star Wars the arcade game. This time developed and published in-house by Atari. Like the name says, this is the home console version of the legendary arcade game that utilized vector graphics and even some digitized voice samples of the main characters.
Use the force, Luke.
Thank the maker Leia had Red Letter Media as part of the Rebel Force. Now the obvious question, how do you take this and put it on Atari? Because there is going to be some Death Star sized corners that are gonna have to be cut. See? Though again, to be fair, this looks really good for a 2600 game. The sound effects are just delightfully retro, aiming and shooting feels fine, plus how impressive is it that a game on this console actually attempted and succeeded in creating somewhat of a three-dimensional space. That alone deserves to be applauded. The game's setting is the Battle of Yavin, featuring 3 different phases of the battle, starting with going up against TIE fighter squadrons in space, followed by Death Star surface where you need to avoid rising laser turrets, and to finish things off, the trench towards the thermal exhaust port. Failing sends you back at the beginning of phase 3, and succeeding sends you back at the beginning of the game with added difficulty.
As is tradition.
This is another really good one. Looks and sounds as good as you could expect, and it just feels really nice to shoot stuff in this kind of POV. Most impressive. I quickly want to bring it that there was actually a fully completed second Return of the Jedi game called the Ewok Adventure, flying an Ewok on a hang glider to take down the shield generator, avoiding speeder bikes, stormtroopers, and
ATSTs! ATSTs!
Despite it being fully finished, Parker Brothers never released it, citing the difficult controls being the main reason. And after trying it out myself, yeah, I can kind of understand that. How you either gain or lose altitude with the glider by pushing the joystick up or down is pretty goddamn clunky. It's nothing impossible to comprehend, but it is what it is. Since it was never officially released, I'm not grading it, but I can tell you that it would have been a better game than Jedi Arena, that's for damn sure. This was actually the first time I tried out playing Atari 2600 games in any fashion, and it was a surprisingly pleasant experience. If there is a takeaway from these specific games, is that despite being so technologically limited, they really went all out trying to make something special and testing out different playstyles to see what kind of variations would follow, even though sometimes that would result in less than desirable things. But that really does speak for the future of Star Wars games. Lots of experimentation and pushing boundaries in all sorts of different game genres, which will result in sometimes truly amazing and sometimes truly terrible experiences. How fitting that last sentence, since it would perfectly parallel the movies. But that's enough for today. Any specific console or series you think I should cover next? Let me know in the comments. Goodbye.